Hey my friends, and welcome to today's video. So as of this video, I'm approaching my 100th race on Zwift. It's not a lot, but I've learned quite a few things along the way, and in this video I'm going to share how I learned not to get dropped in Zwift races. So let's get to it. I first started racing on Zwift 5 months after I started cycling. Immediately after the Build Me Up program, I jumped straight into racing, and I've always been a competitive person and I really wanted to enjoy the feeling of competing again. So I got dropped a lot when I first started racing on Zwift. This was my first race in February 2022. So I've got an FTP of 3.3 watts per kg from the FTP test, and I thought it was just right that I joined the category B race. No sandbaggers, right in your own category kind of thing. Within 5 minutes I was ejected from the group. There weren't even any hills, and immediately after that Zwift assigned me to race in category C, and I was there for 6 events before I got bounced back to category B. So it took me a while to get used to the mechanics of the game. I still get dropped from the lead group from time to time, but that's just part and parcel of racing. So without further ado, here are the few things that I've learned to help me not get dropped in Zwift races. This feels like a no-brainer, but having a strong aerobic base is absolutely crucial in not getting dropped. In fact, it's the core reason why so many of us got into the platform in the first place. To be able to have a place to train and ride more consistently so that we can improve our fitness level. In Zwift, your aerobic power determines how and where you will be categorized in. So for the longest of time, I thought it was just as simple. If your FTP is between 2.5 to 3.2 watts per kg, you will race in category C. Category B, it's 3.2 to 4 watts per kg, that kind of thing. However, I only found out that Zwift uses a couple of metrics to determine which category we should be racing in while I was fact-checking doing this video. So in a recent update to the game, all activities saved or not are logged and captured on Zwift. These activities will then be computed to estimate the rider's maximum aerobic power and functional threshold power, and Zwift will then use these numbers to determine which category we should be racing in. You will only need one of these metrics to exceed before getting bumped up to the next category. So why is this important? It's important because it's a range, and if you just got bumped up to a new category, chances are you're going to be at the bottom of the hierarchy in terms of aerobic power. This means that while the stronger riders are sitting comfortably within the group's draft at their Zone 1 and Zone 2, you might find yourself trying really hard just to keep up. And I find that improving your aerobic base so that it matches the category you are in allows you to do a couple of things. First, it allows you to stay fresh before a big segment or attack. Secondly, it allows you to recover between attacks, and while other riders are trying to play catch up, the stronger riders are just chilling in their Zone 1 and 2. And it also opens up options for you in a race. You can attempt, join or breach breakaways just because you can. It might hurt you, but you will absolutely destroy riders who aren't as strong. We briefly talked about attacks, but let's talk about attacks. More often than not, Zwift races are about your maximum aerobic power. Being able to hold 4 watts per kg for an hour wouldn't mean a thing if you can't survive a 2 to 5 minutes full gas attack. So in order not to get dropped, you will have to pay attention to your 1 to 5 minutes power output. Open up Zwift, compare your power output to what a top rider in your category can do, identify your weakness and work on them. And personally, my 5 minutes power has always been a huge weakness of mine. I'm working on it, and fingers crossed I can get it up to a more competitive level in my category. And one of the best ways I find to improve these numbers is through VO2 max interval session. I know it's painful and I know people consciously avoid doing it, but based on my own experience, it's the best way to improve my aerobic performance. I do it twice a week, 3 times if you include that Wednesday race. These interval sessions are short and sharp, and I'll spend 15 to 25 minutes in my Zone 5 doing 40 20s, 7 times 3, 5 times 4, 5x5s, and in return I get to spend 12 to 20 minutes in my desired heart rate zone. Again, it's painful, but if I want to get stronger, it's just something that needs to be done. I've done SSTs and threshold intervals in the past, but I don't find them to be as effective as spending time in my Zone 5, especially if I want the training to translate into performance in Zwift races. Now that we have briefly covered the physiological side of things, now let's talk about the game. If you're new to Zwift races or a course that you have never been in, doing your homework before an unfamiliar course is extremely helpful. This will help you pace yourself for popular segments where riders will be pushing hard. You don't want to be on a climb and not know how long it's gonna last. There are resources that I refer to get the information I need. So Cy Bradley is the go-to YouTube channel during the Zwift Racing League season. It contains all the information you need to get you ready for all the stages. I also follow other YouTubers' live streams to get more information on a particular race. So Dave Squirrel is a super strong Zwifter from Dirt. I also follow the Global Kiwi and Titanium Band's live streams. I use these guys as a benchmark because they are super strong, and if they're doing 5 minutes at 5 watts per kg at a segment, I need to start mentally preparing myself to try to emulate that. And in standard races, there are actually quite a lot of content out there as well. Rob, Eric, Kate Mon, these guys are fun to watch. Oivin and my teammate Quark has a channel as well. Both are super strong Zwifters. And anyway, learn the course, learn from how others are doing it, stalk their Strava to see how much effort is needed on certain segments, and ask yourself if you have what it takes to not get dropped. And if you don't have it, you have got to train to bump those numbers up. And there's just no getting around that. So I think this is more applicable to new Zwifters or Zwifters who are struggling to keep up with the league group. And life sucks when you get dropped from the league group. And if you're lucky enough, you get picked up by the next group and life goes on. However, in some of these races, the number of participants can be quite low, and the prospect of going solo for the remainder of the race can be very real and not so fun. And there's no shame in cherry picking races. I do that all the time. I pick races that can give me the stimulation that I want. The Marker Yin, for example, I wanted a hard 3 minutes effort. I raced, I got dropped, life goes on. I managed to pull myself back into the lead group in this one because I really don't want to be riding alone. Your goal could be very different. Your goal could be to stay with the lead group for as long as possible. And if that's the case, you might want to pick a flatter course, for example. The Volcano Flat, London Classic, or any Crete City races might be the best options to do that. So I would also recommend riding with the Korean Zwift Riders group. A year ago, I've learned so much from their weekly chase race, and I thought the Category B leader managed the group's pace really well in the past. However, he's no longer that active, and the standard of the session has dropped quite a bit recently, so you be the judge. So your ability to churn out power is a huge factor in the game. However, seasoned riders on Zwift will tell you that it's not just about power. In fact, it's not uncommon to have riders putting out the least power and still win the race, and that's just being efficient. So Zwift is a video game, and like any other video game, life is much easier when you understand the mechanics and just play the game. So most of it is actually very similar to cycling in real life. Staying in the draft and conserving energy is just part and parcel of cycling in real life, and this concept applies to riding on Zwift as well. So while the concept is the same, getting the hang of it might take a while to get used to. So doing group rides with robo pacers, racing, or even doing team time trials can help you get the hang of it really quickly. There are also several features that are unique to Zwift. Things like power-ups are unique to Zwift, and like it or not, it's just part of the game. So there are a total of 7 power-ups in the game, and it's not that difficult to remember what each one does. So the difficult part lies in the timing of usage. The feather power-up, for example, decreases the rider's weight by 10 kg for 15 seconds. That is actually super powerful. However, if the climb is 3 minutes long, when do you actually use it? So it really depends. Another feature like super tucking puts your character in an aero position, allowing you to rest and recover while not losing speed and the group. So this has been nerfed in the recent update, and you will no longer be able to super tuck while you're in a draft. So again, these are the things that you need to pick up if you want to play the game. Bike and wheel selection might seem frivolous or irrelevant at the start, but the numbers don't lie. So the guys at Zwift Insider did a test, and using the most aero setup, doing 2 laps of the Tempest Fugit saves you almost a minute when compared to Zwift's default bike. Those are precious watts saved, and you want every advantage you can get in a race, and this sort of thing adds up. So far we have covered the physiological side of things and the game mechanics. Let's now turn our attention to paying attention. I've paid the price of getting dropped by not paying attention to the game. In this one, I was distracted by my heart rate and didn't realize that the group had already started to push hard. So I was too far back and I kicked in too late. In this next one, I was tired and I got distracted by the neon lights inside the arcade. So same thing, got dropped. And in this latest one, I got complacent and didn't pay attention to the descent, and that cancelled out the hard 6 minutes plus of VO2 max work I did in the climb. I almost got caught napping in the London Classic. This course is rather flat, but some of the riders decided to thin the herd early in the race. I was only saved by my anaerobic reserves. And there you go, the importance of paying attention. So I try to check on the power readings on the left from time to time, especially when I know I'm near a segment where an attack could happen. There are also other things I do to help me prepare for races. For the Zwift Racing League or Dirt Racing Series, for example, I find it extremely helpful to watch live streams of races that happen before mine, so different time zone. Again, the same guys that I mentioned earlier, the Squirrel, Titanium Band, the Global Kiwi, these are the guys that were active during the Zwift Racing League period. That gives me an idea of the intensity of the race so that I can be mentally prepared. Occasionally, I also do brief check of the participants to know who I'm up against. You can do that on Zwift Power. Click on the event, then check out the participants. This gives you a sense of the field and helps you to be more mentally prepared for what's to come. So there you go. These are the few things that I've learned that have helped me not get dropped in Zwift races. Let me know what you think, and if you have any other tips that you would like to share, put it down in the comment section so we can all learn. So I'm kind of super hooked to the game right now. It's probably the only reason I'm pushing myself to get stronger at this age. Right now I could have been satisfied with my current capabilities, do steady state rides and just ride off to the sunset. So as someone who loves sports and has been doing sports all my life, I've never truly picked or realized the true potential of what I could achieve physically. So this journey has been a real eye-opener. I've learned so much over the past 3 to 4 years. And it started with weightlifting a few years ago, just trying to build muscles around my knees to compensate for my torn ACL. And all the way to this point where I'm still learning so much about myself. And I feel that I'm just getting started and I want to continue to push hard. It never gets easier, you just go faster. I guess I'm starting to understand what this means now. Alright, enough rambling. I hope this has been helpful. Stay safe, ride hard, and I'll see you on the next one.